Ronaldo and Lukaku, bang, Crystal Palace have FPL assets and Antonio and DCL break FPL managers' hearts. Hi guys, I'm FPL Nymfria and welcome back to the home of FPL videos. Well guys, strap yourselves in as what a season this is going to be if Game Week 4 is anything to go by. Did I use my wild card and go all out attack? Unfortunately not. A little bit more about that in just a minute. I went for the bat shizzle route instead, it's much more like me. So let's take a look at how I got on in Game Week 4 before looking ahead to my team selection ahead of Game Week 5. Sanchez continuing to be consistent with his 2.6 point rotation combination. Happy to bank this clean sheet in a week of clean sheets all around, really. I think if you were on players that didn't get clean sheets this week, it would have been a tad bit unfortunate with so many around. Thankfully, Sanchez was one of the goalkeepers to pick one of those clean sheets up. On that note, moving on to my defence. Trent's stats last week were a sign of things to come, thankfully. 3 shots and 5 attempted assists this week against Leeds, resulting in 12 points from an assist, clean sheet and 3 bonus points. I'm mighty grateful to have him in my team. The surgery for him would be tough at this point. Soufal finally managed his first clean sheet of the season, 6 points happily banked from him. Unlike Soufal, Shaw conceded yet again. However, he did make up for it this time with an assist for 5 points, which meant I had a solid game week at the back, which is not something I can say very often. In midfield, I have to admit it was a real letdown. Rafinha could only manage 2 points towards my team total. Looked great again, couple of chances, but no return. To be honest, I wasn't expecting much against United. It was more of a hope, given his underlying stats have been so good recently. Salah coming up with the goods again with a goal and clean sheet. He could have got a little more, mind you, with 3 shots on target and 4 attempted assists. Jota was part of my bat shizzle -8 this week, and I'm not going to lie, I am disappointed not to have a return from him. 3 shots, 2 in the box, 1 shot on target and 6 attempted assists, not to mention his 2 big chances created. Absolutely gutting. Why Mane couldn't finish any of the chances that Jota gave him, I'll never know, but finished one directly after Jota came off of the pitch. It's just beyond me. So incredibly annoying. Liverpool are tough FPL assets to get your head around. If you don't own them, watching them create these chances week in, week out is absolute hell. Owning them, though, is just as frustrating. Every attack you're willing on FPL points. It's exhausting because if they were a little less selfish at times and passed more, or if they finished their dinner better, it could be monster FPL points. Excuse that little mini Liverpool rant there, but they did score 4 goals and that's all that matters to them. Unfortunately, FPL isn't as important to everybody as it is to us. Saying that, just imagine how many goals they'd have as a team if things were just a little bit different. Anyways, I should move on. Greenwood, you absolute superstar. Yet another return. 5 points for an assist. I've no idea how long this ride is going to last, but I'm grateful to be a passenger on it so far, that's for sure. Benrahma fails to bank anything for me yet again. This looks like a failed bandwagon so far and is less than ideal. Moving on to my forwards. Ronaldo! Wow, just wow. What a ballsy move to spend -8 and get this guy in, and he didn't disappoint. I was nervous after Ollie's comments in his pressers that he'll be on the pitch at some point, but I heard whispers he may get a start, and I couldn't ignore that. My gut was telling me, go for him, get him in, captain him. Thank goodness I was brave enough to keep that captaincy chip on him. Waiting on that team sheet was not fun, I can tell you, but he repaid me with 26 points. Hope it's a start of many more to come, to be honest with you guys. Antonio, on the other hand, was a heartbreaker. Not only did he blank, but he stupidly got himself a red card, taking away a point from my team total. Antonio, what are you doing to me, man? I mean, come on. It's just not needed, is it? Let's be honest. As part of my -8, I also got Livramento for Simicast to free up that Liverpool spot for Jota. If Raphinha had missed out, I'd have been forced to pay Livramento and I'd actually have been 4 points better off. However, once Raf was available, I was always going to go with the attacking player, really, wasn't I? So with all of that, I got 75 points, a tiny, tiny green arrow. Even with the -8, that sees me reach my target of 60 points by 7 points clear. I will take that. Not bad after a bat shizzle -8. I worked out that I'm just a tad bit better off with my -8 by 3 points, as if I wasn't taking the hit, I probably would have done Ings to DCL, Bamford or Jimenez. Probably DCL given his fixture, though Jimenez was close. But if I had gone with DCL and him not playing, that means my swing would have been better off by 5 points, as I'd have 8 points from Bruno, 0 points from DCL or 2 points from Jimenez, and 8 points for Salah as my captain. Now I know I was on Bruno in my last video, but I think I was edging more towards Salah for security if I didn't go for Ronaldo. Either way, it's 8 points, making that a total of 16 to 18 points, where going for Ronaldo plus Jota is 29 points, minus the 8 for the hit, making it 21, and therefore 21 minus the 18 in the best case scenario would see me better off by 3 points. If my maths are to be believed, and to be honest, maths isn't my strong point, but I think that's right. However, it's not the full story though, as I did get Livramento in that -8, and of course, if he had played instead of Raphinha, then I'd have been another 4 points in profit. The other good thing about having taken the -8 now is that I do have Jota, who has now risen in price, and Ronaldo going forward, who I am absolutely sure will rise in price this week. Whilst in the grand scheme of things, it looks like it probably wasn't worth the effort. Long term, I'm hoping it's paid off, and thankfully the main thing is it hasn't actually cost me anything this week. In fact, it's gained me a couple of points. However, what we can have a little moan about is the fact that if I had wildcarded into my all-out attack team in last week's video that consisted of Lukaku and Ronaldo, I'd have been much better off with something like 82 to 83 points with no hit. That would have seen a massive rank rise, so that's a bit of a bummer, it has to be said. Long term, I wonder if that's the best option. A lot of discussion around whether or not it's a balanced team, but, you know, this week it definitely would have paid off. But going back shizzle this week, for me, my 3 top scorers were romping Ronaldo with 26 points as my captain, Trendy Trent with his glorious 12 points, and Momo Salah and his fabulous 8 points. Moving on to Game Week 5, and this is how I'm currently lining up. Now, I have a big Antonio problem, as I was hoping to bench Soufal against Manchester United in Game Week 5, so I have only a couple of options here. I can do nothing and roll a transfer. 5 players in one match doesn't feel amazing though. It would have been the same, of course, with Antonio, but he's an attacker, so I would have felt a lot better about that. However, I have done a lot of transfers recently. It could be a good time to recoup and bank a transfer. And to be honest, will I want Antonio going forward? Quite possibly. He does have some decent fixtures after this 1 match ban. That said, I've been working towards a wild card in Game Week 7, so 2 free transfers for Game Week 6 does feel somewhat pointless unless I'm going to take some punts for 1 game week, or it helps me get onto a player that I'm worrying about may get out of my price range before I get to that wild card. So I could do Antonio de Bamford with the exact cash. That'll look a little something like this at the time of recording, of course. Newcastle up next, and it means I can bench Soufal again. However, there is a podcast going around from after the Liverpool match that you can clearly hear Bamford in the background saying, "My hamstring is pinging." Now, no idea what that means for him being available this coming weekend, and is less than ideal as we now know at the time of recording this that DCL is out for about 2 to 3 weeks, meaning our options for Antonio replacements are now extremely limited, especially ones that have good fixtures anyway. With that, my only other options are Soufal to Marcel. That would look like this. It would free up some cash and spreads my players out to some different teams so that I'm not all bunched into one match. So I potentially don't have 5 players in that Manchester United West Ham match. Or I could do Benrahma for the same reasons onto the likes of Gray or Gallagher, and that would look a little something like this. Benny could move up front for 1 week with no Antonio though, so this transfer is a bit of a risk. It's kind of just allowing me to get on Gallagher or Gray for the coming game weeks, knowing that they're quite popular players, but it does mean selling Benrahma potentially too early because as we've just said, he could move up front for that Manchester United match, and then he does have 3 decent fixtures after that. Now, what happens when Europa kicks in is a different story entirely with West Ham. We're going to have to wait and see. So getting off of some of these West Ham players around about now is not a terrible idea. However, you do have to bear in mind, obviously, that it could hurt getting off of them at this early stage without the knowledge of whether or not Europa's actually going to affect that team lineup. And they do, as we stated, with Benrahma and Antonio, after the Manchester United match, have 3 fairly decent fixtures where you'd like to think they can get something attacking from. So moving back to my original team, and I'm honestly not ruling out a wild card at this point either. It's not ideal off of the back of a -8, but thankfully I didn't take a loss from that hit, so I don't hate the idea of potentially getting on a wild card now early going forward. If I were to wild card now, I would be extremely tempted to go with the all-out attack approach of Ronaldo and Lukaku up top. I think it's going to cost me a little more this week than it would have done last week. Of course, Gray would have been in that draft. Marcel would have been in that draft, so probably wouldn't be able to afford exactly the team that I lined up in last week's video, but I'd be trying to get as near to that as I possibly could. But I've restrained this far and I am trying to get to Game Week 7, as you guys know. So it's a real tough one this week on what transfers to do, and every week between now and Game Week 7 could be a potential wildcard week for me. It's very team specific and very much how you feel with your team. If by the end of this week I'm thinking I can't make any of these transfers work and I'm still feeling less than confident with 1 or 2 transfers, ideally I don't want to take 2 transfers this week and go for the hit. It just doesn't feel right to hit again. The only circumstances I think I may have done that with is if DCL had have been fit last night and played and looked extremely good, then I wouldn't have had the exact cash to go Antonio to him, so I may have taken a hit to get him in for his coming fixtures. However, with him out 2 to 3 weeks, it kind of sees me edging either to saving a transfer or making one of these transfers in Soufal to Marcel or Benrahma to Gray or Gallagher to free up some cash and not have so many players in one matchup. However, as I say, that wildcard is sat there and I am considering using it. So at any point I could activate it, and of course I will let you guys know on social media if I do. But for now, let me know what you guys think in the comments below, because you know I always love to hear from you guys. Captaincy at the moment is on Salah for his home fixture, but I will not beat around the bush. I am extremely tempted by Ronaldo. I just think him and Lukaku will score against any team this season. It just feels like you could almost perma set and forget on these captaincies, but Salah is in my team for a reason, and at the moment he has the captaincy armband. And lastly, moving on to the trending transfers this week, using Fantasy Football Fix data, I'll delve into the trending transfers ahead of next game week so you can see who's likely to rise and drop in price, as well as gauging the bandwagons at the time of recording this. So let's take a look at the players in and out ahead of game week 5. Of the goalkeepers, Sanchez is the trendiest goalkeeper in ahead of game week 5 with 77,000+ purchases. Schmeichel is the next trendiest with 75,000+ buys. Martinez is still the most transferred out goalkeeper with over 118,000 sales. The next highest out this week is Lloris with 76,000+ managers getting rid of the Spurs man. Of the defenders, Tsimikas is still leading the way for sales out this week with over 173,000 managers jumping off of the Liverpool man. Shaw is also still the second most transferred out with 147,000+ sales. Marcel is the trendiest defender in with a whopping 224,000+ purchases. Duffy is the second highest defender in with over 177,000 buys. In midfield, Pogba is the trendiest midfielder in with over 246,000 purchases for the United man. Gallagher is chasing him down as the next trendiest in this game week with around 228,000 buys. Bruno is still the most switched out midfielder this week with over 318,000+ sales. The injured Sonny is the trendiest midfielder out with 303,000+ FPL managers moving on the Spurs midfielder. Up front, Antonio is the trendiest forward out so far this week owing to his red card, with 930,000+ managers moving on the leading forward points scorer. Ings is the second most transferred out forward with over 245,000 sales. Ronaldo is unsurprisingly the trendiest forward in this week with over 814,000 buys already. Lukaku is the second trendiest forward bought ahead of Game Week 5 with over 416,000 purchases. And that's it. Thanks for watching, you guys. Please check out my sponsors of this video, fantasyfootballfix.com. And yet again, if you'd like to help me reach 7k, one of my lucky numbers, then please do like, share, hit that notification bell and subscribe for more FPL videos. Until next time, Nymfria out.